Robert Greene's philosophy reveals a stark truth about the world. It is a constant game of power, and most people are merely pawns, completely unaware of the rules. There are 48 laws, but one law stands above all. One law that, when mastered, gives you control over the 99% who ignore Italiano. What is this singular, powerful law? It is Law 3. Conceal your intentions. This is the master key to the mechanisms of power, the one rule that controls all other human interactions. The vast majority of people are open books. They cannot help but reveal their feelings, their plans, and their desires to anyone who will listen. This desire for transparency is a fundamental human weakness. We believe that honesty and openness will win us allies and show our good nature. Robert Greene argues this is a fatal delusion. Honesty is a blunt instrument that bloodies more than it cuts. It makes you predictable, and predictability is death to power. The 99% operate on the naive assumption that the world is fair and that people are good. They telegraph every move, making themselves easy targets. They crave validation, so they speak of their ambitions. They seek sympathy, so they reveal their weaknesses. They want connection, so they share their secrets. Each time they do this, they hand over the very tools of their own manipulation to their rivals. They are playing chess with all their pieces visible. The master of power, the 1%, does the opposite. They understand that human beings are wired to trust appearances. This is the flaw they exploit. This one law is not about lying. It is about the strategic control of information. It is about understanding that what you do not reveal is more powerful than what you do. Think of power as a game of poker. Would you ever show your hand to the table? The 99% do this every single day, then wonder why they always lose. They confuse sincerity with honesty. They believe that what they feel must be expressed, that their internal monologue must become external dialogue. This is the gravitational pull of mediocrity. The need to be known, to be understood, is a trap. The 1% have learned to escape this emotional gravity. The world does not want to be deceived, but as Kierkegaard wrote, it wants to be deceived. People are drawn to mystery, not to bland, predictable truth. Concealing your intentions is the art of creating that mystery. It wraps you in an aura of the unknown, making you seem larger and more powerful than you are. The average person is uncomfortable with silence. They rush to fill the void with words, and in those words, they reveal everything. Their fears, their goals, their levers. The 1% use this. They become the void. They stay quiet. They listen, and they watch. They let others drain their own power by talking too much. This is the great divide in the power dynamic. Those who are controlled by their tongue, and those who control it, the 99% versus the 1%. To begin mastering this law, you must first unlearn a lifetime of conditioning. You must break the habit of casual, thoughtless self-revelation. You must practice restraint. When you feel the urge to share your plans, to boast of a victory, or to complain of a slight, you must consciously choose silence. This is the first step toward power, achieving control over your own impulses. If you cannot control yourself, you will never be able to control others. The 99% live in a state of reaction. They are swayed by emotion, angered by insults, and excited by praise. Their intentions are painted on their faces. The 1% live in a state of action. They are deliberate, patient, and unreadable. Their true intentions are buried so deep, they are invisible to the outside world. This one law is the foundation. Without it, all other laws of power are useless. You cannot outshine the master if he knows you're trying to. You cannot win through your actions if your opponent knows what your actions will be. You cannot crush your enemy if they see you coming from a mile away. Conceal your intentions is the shield that protects you. It is the fog of war that allows you to maneuver unseen while your enemies stumble in the light. The 99% believe in a fantasy of human nature. They believe in total, unfiltered connection. This romantic ideal is their strategic downfall. In the real world, in the courts of power, in the boardroom, in any social hierarchy, what is unseen counts for everything. What is seen is merely a tool. This law is not for the faint of heart. It requires a level of self-discipline that most people are unwilling or unable to cultivate. This is why it remains a secret of the 1%. It requires you to see the world as it is, not as you wish it were. A brutal, competitive arena where intentions are weapons and concealment is armor. The 99% are amateurs in a game played by professionals. They bring their feelings to a battle of strategy. This is why they're so easily controlled. The 1% are the grandmasters. They understand that people are not rational. They are driven by emotion, vanity, and insecurity. And they use this knowledge to build their defenses. The first and strongest wall is the concealment of their own purpose. It is an impenetrable fortress, the 99% mistake. This concealment for coldness or deception. They moralize it, calling it inauthentic or manipulative. This is their cope. They moralize it because they lack the discipline to practice it. They prefer the warm, easy comfort of transparency, even as it leads them to ruin. The 1% do not concern themselves with these labels. They are concerned with results. They know that power is a game of appearances, and they are masters of the art. To control the 99%, you must simply do what they cannot. You must hold your cards close. You must learn to be a sphinx in a world of open books. You must become a puzzle that no one can solve. The more they try to read you, the less they will understand. This is the beginning of true influence. This law is the source of a quiet, unshakable confidence. When no one knows your true purpose, no one can mount an effective attack against you. You are free to move, to adapt, to strike. You operate from a position of total security, while everyone else is exposed, vulnerable, and clear as day. The 99% are slaves to their own transparency. They are trapped in a prison of their own making, one built from their need to be known and validated. The 1% are free. They have liberated themselves from this need. Their power comes not from being known, but from being perpetually underestimated. This is the fundamental transaction of power. The 99% trade their power for the fleeting comfort of being understood. A terrible, losing bargain. The 1% make the opposite trade. They sacrifice the comfort of transparency for the lasting, permanent acquisition of power and control. They understand that what people think they know about you is a weapon, and they are the ones who will forge it, aim it, and use it to their advantage. The 99% let others forge this weapon for them. Their reputations are built on the careless words and emotional outbursts they leak into the world every day. This law 3, is the ultimate defense. It is the art of hiding in plain sight. It is the secret that separates the masters from the masses. It is the discipline of appearing to be one thing while being fully prepared to be another. It is the essence of strategic, asymmetrical warfare. The 99% are predictable. Their yes means yes, and their no means no. They are simple equations, easily solved and just as easily manipulated. The 1% are paradoxes. Their yes could mean no. Their no could be a test. Their true intentions are a black hole, absorbing all light and revealing nothing. This creates a terrifying psychological advantage. People fear what they do not understand, and they will bend over backwards to appease the person they cannot read. This is the control. It is not overt. It is not forceful. It is a subtle, invisible pressure. The 99% control themselves, all for the benefit of the 1%. They try to please the unreadable person. They offer information. They reveal their own strategies, hoping to get a reaction, a sign, a clue. And in doing so, they give away everything. The master of Law 3 simply has to wait, to watch, and to listen, as the 99% defeat themselves. This is why it is the one law that controls all. It is not an action, but a lack of action. It is the power of the void, the strength of the unseen. The 99% are loud. They are bright. They are desperate to be seen. They are like fireworks, brilliant for a moment, then gone, leaving nothing but smoke. The 1% are the darkness. They are the deep, quiet, and permanent night sky. They are the ones who watch the fireworks burn out, patient and enduring. This law is the source of all respect and all fear. People cannot respect what they fully understand. Familiarity, as they say, breeds contempt. But mystery breeds reverence. It breeds caution. It forces others to treat you with a level of care they would never afford to an open book. The 99% seek friendship and connection above all. The 1% seek power and position. These two goals require fundamentally different strategies. The strategy of the 99% is to give, to share, to be vulnerable. The strategy of the 1% is to protect, to conceal, to be impenetrable. This is the great secret. The 99% are playing a social game. The 1% are playing a power game. The power game always wins. The 99% believe that if they are just themselves, the world will reward them. This is the greatest lie they are ever told. Power rewards discipline, not authenticity. The 1% have replaced this naive authenticity with a curated performance. Their public face is a tool, a mask, a carefully constructed smokescreen. Behind this smokescreen, their true intentions are formed, honed, and prepared. They are never revealed until the moment of the strike, when it is far too late to stop. This is the art of war applied to daily life, and 99% of the world is a civilian population, completely unarmed and unprepared for the battle. The 1% are the hidden generals, directing the flow of events from a concealed bunker. They are never seen, but their will is always done. Master this one law, and you leave the ranks of the 99% forever. You stop being a pawn and start becoming a player, a hand that moves the pieces. It is the most difficult law to master, because it goes against our very nature. Our nature is to connect, to share, to be part of the tribe. But power, as Greene teaches, requires you to be unnatural. It requires you to be superhuman, to have a level of control that others find terrifying. This is the choice. Remain one of the 99%, controlled by your impulses and by those who understand this law. Or join the 1% and master the game. The 99% are the sheep. They are a load, they move in a herd, and their intentions are simple. Find grass, avoid the wolf. They are easily guided. The 1% is the shepherd, or perhaps the wolf in shepherd's clothing. Silent, watching, and always concealing his true, hungry intentions. This one law is the difference between the hammer and the nail. The 99% are the nail, waiting to be struck. The 1% are the hammer, hidden until the moment to strike. This is the brutal, cold, and perfect logic of power. And it all begins and ends with your ability to conceal what you truly want. The 1% know this, the 99% do not. Now, let's explore the mechanics of this law. How does one actively conceal their intentions? It is not just about being silent. It's about active misdirection. The 99% are not just open books. They are boring open books. Their transparency makes them mundane. The 1% uses misdirection to create an exciting illusion. Robert Greene gives us the primary tool, the decoyed object of desire. You must dangle a false goal in front of people's eyes. While they are obsessing over the decoy, you are free to work toward your real objective, completely unnoticed. The 99% cannot focus on more than one thing at a time. This is the strategy of the magician. The 1% are master elude. They direct your attention to the right hand, while the left hand performs the trick. The 99% are the perfect audience. They want to believe the illusion. They trust what they see, and they see only what the master wants them to see. The most effective decoy is one that aligns with what people expect of you. If they think you are greedy, dangle the illusion of wealth. If they think you are pious, make a great show of your morality. Use their prejudices and assumptions against them. Let them build your smokescreen for you. The 99% are always trying to guess your motives. They are amateur psychologists. The 1% gives them a simple, plausible, and completely false answer. This satisfies their need to figure you out. Once they believe they have, they stop paying attention. This is when you are most powerful. Another powerful tool is false sincerity. The 99% are disarmed by a show of emotion. They mistake a passionate performance for genuine belief. The 1% can talk endlessly about their desires and goals, a screen says, but these are never their real desires. They are a cloud of smoke. This endless talk serves three purposes. 1. It makes you appear friendly, open, and trustworthy. You seem to be just like the 99%. 2. It effectively conceals your real intentions, burying them under an avalanche of meaningless, plausible, but false information. And 3. It sends your rivals on time-consuming wild goose. They waste their energy preparing to counter a threat that doesn't even exist. The 99% fall for this every time. They cannot imagine that the bland, friendly, or passionate person they are dealing with is simultaneously setting up something else. They lack the mental capacity for dual-level thinking. They see the surface and assume that is the reality. The 1% see the surface as a canvas to paint on. Think of the red herring. This is the art of drawing attention to a minor issue to distract from the major one. The 99% love to chase red herrings. They love drama. They love gossip. They love to feel outraged or superior. The 1% gives them a manufactured drama to feed on, while the 99% are busy debating the trivial. The 1% are making their move. They are capturing the castle while the villagers are arguing in the town square. This is how 99% of people are controlled. They are emotionally guided into rabbit holes, distracted by spectacle, and led by the nose by their own predictable reactions. The 1% are never predictable. They cultivate an air of ambiguity. They are masters of the bland facial expression that reveals nothing. They speak in generalities. Their words are open to interpretation. These forces to 99% to project their own anxieties and hopes onto the 1%. The 99% will then act on these projections, not on your actual intentions. You control them without ever having to issue a command. This is the pinnacle of power, to have others willingly do your bidding while believing it was their own idea. This is the art of the 1%. The 99% believe in radical candor. They think speaking their mind is a virtue. The 1% see it as a staggering tactical blunder. Every time you reveal your true opinion, you create an enemy. You give someone a reason to oppose you. You arm them with your own thoughts. The 1% avoids this. They are chameleons. They blend in. They reflect the opinions of those around them, appearing to be an ally to all. But they are an ally to no one but themselves. Their true allegiance is to their own hidden purpose. The 99% are loyal to people, groups, and ideas. This makes the 99% rigid. They are tied to their public statements and beliefs. They cannot adapt. The 1% are fluid, like water. Because their intentions are hidden, they can change their plan at any moment without losing face. They have no public ego invested in a failed strategy. This is Law 48. Assume formlessness, but it is only possible if you first master Law 3. Concealment gives you the freedom to be formless. The 99% are solid. They are rocks. They are easy to see, easy to understand, and easy to break. The 1% are mist. They are impossible to grasp. The mechanics of this law require patience. The 99% are desperate for instant gratification. They want the result now. They rush their plans. The 1% are infinitely patient. They will wait for months, or even years for the perfect moment to reveal their hand. Often, it is never revealed at all. The accomplishment just ... happens. The 1% find themselves in a position of power, and the 99% are left wondering how they got there. It seemed like luck. It seemed effortless. This is the final layer of the illusion. The 1% make their hardest work look like a fortunate accident. This, too, is a form of concealment. They conceal their effort. They conceal their ambition. They conceal the true, brutal discipline it took to win. The 99% want credit for working hard. The 1% want the victory. They gladly sacrifice the credit, knowing that it is a bauble, a distraction. To practice this, you must start small. Practice saying less than necessary. Practice letting others fill the silence. Observe what you learn. Practice showing a mild, supportive interest in a topic you care nothing about. Practice guiding a conversation toward a goal without the other person realizing it. This is not about becoming a sociopath. It is about becoming a strategist. The 99% are emotional players in a strategic game. They will always lose. The 1% are strategic players in an emotional world. They understand the emotions of the 99% and see them as data, as levers to be pulled. They do not get caught in the emotional tide themselves. They are the surfers, riding the wave of public opinion, of fear, of hope, all toward their own hidden shore. The 99% are the wave. They are the tide. They are a force of nature, powerful and chaotic, but ultimately predictable and controllable. They are controlled by the moon. The 1% is the moon, silent, distant, unreadable, and yet it moves the entire ocean without ever touching it. This is the power of Law 3. It is the power of indirect influence. It is the power of the puppet master who is never seen. The 99% are the puppets, dancing on strings they don't even know exist. They are controlled by the very emotions they believe make them human. The 1% have transcended this. They have mastered their emotions. They have turned their inner world into a black box, unknowable to all. This is the ultimate weapon. In a world where everyone is broadcasting their every thought, the person who is silent and unreadable is king. The 99% are consumers of information. The 1% are producers of disinformation. They create the narrative. They build the stage and write the play. The 99% are the actors, reading their lines, believing it is their own story. This is the dynamic that controls 99% of people. It is the gap between the illusion and the reality. The 99% live in the illusion. The 1% create the illusion and operate in the cold, hard reality. To master this law, you must learn to live in this gap. You must be able to see both the performance and the rigging backstage. You must be the actor who knows they are in a play. You say your lines with passion, but you never, ever forget your true purpose. To get to the final bow, the 99% forget they are on a stage. They believe the drama is real. They lose themselves in the role. This is their final, fatal error. The 1% never forget. They're always watching, always calculating, always concealing. They are the silent directors of the human drama. They use decoyed objects like a stage prop. They use false sincerity like a costume. They use red herrings like a dramatic subplot, and the 99% applaud, cry, and rage, exactly on cue. They are perfectly managed, perfectly controlled, all by a law they cannot even see. This is the mechanics of power. It is cold, it is clinical, and it is ruthlessly effective. It is the one law that governs the 99%. The 1% know that people's first instinct is to trust appearances. This is the fatal flaw in the human operating system. Law 3 is the exploit. It is the master key that unlocks every door, because it is a key that was forged from the very material of human nature itself. The 99% gave the 1% this power. They gave it away for free. Every time they chose to be an open book. Every time they chose comfort over strategy. The 1% simply accepted the gift, and they use it. They use it to shape the world, to build empires, and to control the 99% who live in them. This is the cold, hard, and undeniable truth of Robert Greene's world. And Law 3's Conceal Your Intentions is its fundamental operating principle. Let's dive deeper into the psychological power of this law. Why is concealment so devastatingly effective? It's about exploiting the limits of the human mind. The 99% are information processing machines, but they are flawed. They cannot stand a vacuum. They cannot tolerate uncertainty or mystery. When the 1% conceals their intentions, they create a vacuum, a void. The 99% will rush to fill this void with their own theories and, most importantly, their own fears. They will project their insecurities onto you. They will imagine you are more powerful, more brilliant, and more cunning than you may actually be. You don't have to be old. You only have to appear unreadable. The 99% will do the rest of the work for you. They will inflate your reputation out of fear. This is a profound psychological advantage. You force your opponent to wrestle with ghosts. They are fighting shadows of their own creation. Meanwhile, you are free to observe their panic. You watch as they try to guess your plan, and in their guesses, they reveal their plans. The 99% are terrified of looking foolish. This fear is a powerful lever. Your silence makes them feel foolish, as if they are not in on the secret to compensate. They will talk more. They will offer information. They will try to prove they are smart, to show you that they get it. This is a psychological trap. The more they talk, the more they reveal. The 1% becomes a confession booth. The 99% line up to unburden their souls. This is the power of the Sphinx. The Sphinx does not act, it simply is. Its unreadable nature is what gives it power. It forces others to act, to guess, to fail. The 99% are biologically wired for reciprocity. If you are open with them, they feel compelled to be open with you. The 1% uses this, but they use false openness. They share a minor, harmless secret to build rapport. The 99% feel the pull of reciprocity and share a real secret in return. This is an unequal exchange. The 1% has traded a piece of glass for a diamond. This is the currency of power, and the 99% are always bankrupt. The human mind craves patterns. We are pattern recognition animals. This is how we survived. But this strength is also our greatest weakness. The 99% are a simple pattern, a BC. They are easy to read, easy to predict. The 1% is a random number generator. They are chaos. They are deliberately inconsistent. They will show kindness one day and be cold the next. They will support one idea and then attack it. This shatters the 99%'s ability to find a pattern. It keeps them permanently off balance, anxious, and reactive. They can never prepare a defense. If they have no clue what you are up to, they cannot form a strategy. They are always one step behind, forced to react to your moves. This is the difference between offense and defense. The 99% are in a permanent state of psychological defense. The 1% are always on the attack. But it is a soft attack. It is an attack on their certainty, on their confidence, on their very perception of reality. It is the most effective attack there is. The 99% are controlled by their ego. They need to feel important, smart, and respected. The 1% know this and play it like a violin. By being unreadable, the 1% becomes the arbiter of the 99%'s ego. A rare smile from the 1% becomes a treasured prize. A nod of approval is a victory. The 1% trains the 99% like a dog, using intermittent reinforcement. They dispense praise and attention randomly, making the 99% desperate for it. This creates a powerful bond of dependence. The 99% become addicted to the validation of the 1%. This is the psychological root of all cults of personality. The unreadable leader is always the most charismatic. The 99% project their hopes, dreams, and desires onto him. He becomes a symbol, not a person. The 1% understands that power is not about what you do. It is about what people think you are capable of doing. It is a game of perception. By concealing your intentions, you create an infinite perception of your capabilities. Since they don't know your limits, they assume you have none. The 99% are afraid of the dark. They are afraid of the unknown. The 1% becomes the unknown. They weaponize the 99% as a primal fear. This is why this one law controls 99% of people. It targets a fundamental flaw in human psychology: the inability to tolerate the unknown. The 99% will choose a bad certainty over an uncertain mystery. They would rather know for a fact that you are their enemy than suspect it. The 1% never gives them this comfort. They remain in the gray zone. They are neither friend nor enemy. They are simply unreadable. This is a form of psychological torture. The 99% are left in a state of suspended animation, unable to act, unable to relax. They are and a perilous opponent is a defeated opponent. The 1% has won the battle before it has even begun, simply by controlling the flow of information. The 99% are slaves to the present moment. They are driven by immediate stimuli. The 1% are masters of time. They are always thinking 3 moves ahead. Their concealed intentions are those 3 moves. The 99% can only see the board as it is now. They are playing checkers. The 1% are playing 3D chess. The 99% seek comfort. The 1% seek advantage. These are irreconcilable worldviews. The 1%'s advantage comes from the 99%'s desperate need for comfort. The comfort of being liked. The comfort of being understood. The comfort of honesty. The 1% sees these as the addictions of the weak. They exploit these addictions. They will like you to get information. They will understand you to find your weaknesses. They will be honest to build false trust. The 99% see this as connection. The 1% see it as reconnaissance. This is a psychological gap that 99% of people fall into, and the 1% are waiting at the bottom. They have made the 99% feel so comfortable that they have built a prison of their own authenticity. They are trapped by their own words, their own promises, their own brand. The 1%, who promised nothing and revealed nothing, is free to do as they please. This is the great, cruel irony of power. The 99% who crave freedom are enslaved by their own openness. The 1% who practice restraint are the only ones who are truly free. The psychological power of this law is absolute. It turns the 99%'s own minds against them. Their greatest cognitive strengths become their greatest weaknesses. Their ability to empathize is used to extract information. Their need for connection is used to create dependence. Their desire for patterns is used to keep them off balance. The 1% does not break the 99%'s mind. They simply use it as it was designed. They are the user, and the 99% are the tool. This is the psychological profile of the master. They are an observer, a listener, a perpetual student of human nature. The 99% are the textbook. The 99% are broadcasting their entire psychological profile 24/7. The 1% are a blank page. You can write anything you want on them, but you will never know what is written inside. This is why they are in control. They are the only ones in the room who know the full story. They have read everyone's book, but theirs remains closed. Knowledge is power, and the 1% has a monopoly on the most important knowledge of all, their own true purpose. The 99% have given theirs away for free. This information asymmetry is the source of all control. The 99% are playing with an incomplete dataset. The 1% have the full picture. They are the artist, and the 99% are the paint. They are guided, mixed, and shaped into a final picture that only the 1% could see from the beginning. The 99% are so busy being paint, being colorful, being seen, being vibrant, that they never realize they are being used to create someone else's masterpiece. This is the psychological art of Law 3. It is subtle, total, and invisible. It is the one law that turns 99% of people into unwitting servants. It is the power of the gray man. The person who is seen but not noticed. The person who is present but not remembered. This is the 1%. They move through the world like a ghost, leaving no trace, but changing the emotional temperature of every room they enter. The 99% are drawn to their quiet gravity. They are loud, and they are drawn to the 1%'s silence. They are simple, and they are drawn to the 1%'s complexity. They are transparent, and they are drawn to the 1%'s mystery. They are moths, and the 1% is a dark, cold, and irresistible flame. This is the psychology of control. It is not a battle of strength, but a battle of information. It is not a war of armies, but a war of perception. The 1% are the masters of this war, and 99% of the world is their willing, unknowing, and perfectly controlled territory. We have reached the final act, the master's gambit, and the price of this power. Mastering this law is not the end. It is the beginning of a different kind of life. The 99% live in a warm, messy, and emotional world. The 1% inhabit a cold, precise, and strategic one. This isolation is the first price of power. To conceal your intentions from everyone, you must, to a degree, be alone. You cannot have true confidants. You cannot have partners who know your real self. As Robert Greene says, never put too much trust in friends. This is a necessary consequence of Law 3. A friend is a security risk. The 99% crave this connection. They accept the security risk for the comfort of friendship. This is a trade the 1% will never make. The master's gambit is a long game. It is the sacrifice of short-term comforts for long-term, unassailable power. It is a lonely, patient game. The 99% will misunderstand you. They will call you cold, aloof, secretive, or paranoid. You must be willing to accept these labels as the cost of doing business. In fact, the 1% welcomes these labels. They are just another layer of the smokescreen. They are a red herring that keeps people focused on your personality, not your plans. The 99% are controlled, but in many ways, they are happy. Their ignorance is a bliss. They enjoy the simple pleasures of being an open book. The 1% are in control, but they are burdened. They are burdened by the weight of their own knowledge, by the constant need for vigilance. This is the paradox of power. The master is a slave to their own discipline. The 99% are free in their lack of it, even as it makes them controllable. But the 1% chooses this burden. They choose the burden of awareness over the bliss of ignorance. They choose the cold peak of power over the warm valley of the masses. The final gambit is to make your accomplishments seem effortless. When your true intention is finally realized, it must look like a natural, inevitable outcome. It must look like luck or genius. The 99% must never be allowed to see the decades of patient, concealed work that led to that moment. Why? Because if they see the work, they see the strategy. If they see the strategy, they can learn. The 1% must maintain the illusion of genius. These keeps the 99% in a state of admiration, not aspiration. They will worship you as a visionary rather than analyze you as a strategist. This is the final layer of control. You control their perception of your past as effectively as you control their perception of your future. The 99% are trapped in the now. They are emotional and they see Ned Stark in Game of Thrones and admire his honor. The 1% see a fool, a man who telegraphed his intentions to his mortal enemies and was shocked when they cut off his head. His honor was a fatal, arrogant weakness. The 1% of the little fingers. The Verises, the Tywins. They understand that intentions are weapons. They keep their blades sheathed until the moment they strike. The 99% walk around with their blades drawn, announcing their intentions to all. They are disarmed, defeated, and executed before the real fight ever begins. This is the lesson. The 99% are controlled because they choose to be. They choose the easy path of emotional transparency over the hard path of strategic discipline. The 1% are in control because they have made the opposite choice. They have embraced the loneliness of strategy. They have mastered themselves. This one law, conceal your intentions, is the great filter. It is the test that separates the 99% from the 1%. It is not a test of intelligence or wealth. It is a test of will. It is a test of emotional discipline. It is a test of your ability to see the world as it truly is. A theater of war disguised as a garden party. The 99% are busy enjoying the party. They are drinking, laughing, and sharing their deepest secrets. The 1% are in the shadows, counting the exits and identifying the threats. This is the price. You must give up the party. You must become a permanent, silent guardian of your own mind. You must become an outsider. But in return, you get the ultimate prize. You get to be the architect of your own fate. You are no longer a leaf in the wind, like the 99%. You become the wind itself, invisible, unreadable, and powerful enough to change the direction of everything around you. The 99% are defined by their environment. The 1% define their environment. This is the ultimate power, and it all stems from this one singular, powerful law. So, the choice is yours. Remain an open book, a pawn, a predictable and controllable member of the 99%. Or learn to close the book. Learn to be the Sphinx. Learn to be the void. Learn to build the smokescreen, to dangle the decoy, and to play the long game. The 99% are controlled by their impulses. The 1% are controlled by their purpose, and that purpose is the one secret they will take to the grave. This is the one law of power. It is not just about deceiving others. It is about the supreme self-control required to master the game of life. The 99% play the game without knowing the rules. The 1% wrote the rules. And rule no isa, and will always be. Never, ever, reveal your true intentions. The 99% are the noise. The 1% are the signal. The 99% are the ocean. The 1% are the unseen current that directs the tide. Master this, and you master the 99%. You master the game. You master the world. This is the ultimate promise of Robert Greene's philosophy. It is a dark promise. It is a cold promise. But for the 1% who choose to accept it, it is the only promise that matters. The promise of total, absolute power. The 99% are controlled because they are known. The 1% are in control because they are a mystery. In the end, it is that simple. It is the difference between being a puzzle that has been solved and a puzzle that is unsolvable. Be the unsolvable puzzle. This is the final, deep, and contemplative truth of power. The 99% are a statement. The 1% are a question mark. Be the question. Let the 99% exhaust themselves trying to find the answer. Their search will be your power. Their confusion will be your clarity. This is the gambit. This is the price. And this is the one law that governs the 99% of people who are too weak, too naive, or too undisciplined to use it.